Hey everyone, this is going to be the review on the Cold Steel Pro Flight Sport throwing knives. They're both straight still after all the throwing that I did with them. They are incredibly tough. The tip on this one bent a little bit, but overall the rest of it is still straight. That could probably be hammered out. When I got these, one of these, the tip wasn't right. So I contacted Cold Steel, which took them a week to get back to me. That's one thing I don't like is their customer service. It just takes too long to get to you if you have a problem. But the good thing is when I told them about it, they sent me another one. So now I have two, and the one with the damaged tip, I was able to just file to fix it. The larger size makes them easier to throw, especially no spin, which is how I typically throw. They stick very easily into the target and they bury deeply into it. You know, they will sometimes go up to about 2 inches in. Point of balance is a bit tip heavy for a throwing knife, but that makes it better for throwing from the handle. With a throwing knife, if you can get it perfectly balanced right at the end of the handle, then you have a very neutral throwing knife that's good for both throwing from the handle and throwing from the blade. Now if you have something like this that's more heavy at the blade, then you have something that's better for throwing from the handle. If it's more heavy at the handle, then you have something good for throwing at the blade. Another thing I like about these is right here it has the model, although it's hard to see because I painted this in orange. So it says Pro Flight Sport right there. I painted the handles orange so that if I'm throwing in the ground and they bury deeply, they'll be easier to find. And one of these did get lost in the sand when I was throwing them. I threw them in the sand and it actually went all the way into the ground, so the orange handles definitely help. They also have these holes on the end for, you know, whatever purpose you may find that for, so that's another good thing. With the size, if you have more than one of them basically doubles as a digging tool. But in all seriousness though, if, you know, you're in a survival situation and you have one of these, it is large enough to double as a digging tool. Now, for cons on these knives, the cons are mainly aesthetics, because otherwise these are pretty good throwing knives. Although one problem isn't so much aesthetics, and we will get into that. The grinds on these are very uneven. So if you look on this side, the grind goes down a little bit lower than this side. That one's not so bad. This one here is a little bit lower than that side. Once again, that one's not so bad. Now on this one, however, that grind ends right there, as you can see, right where my finger is. And on this side, it's about a 1/4 inch higher. So, in this one here, it's a little bit, that one ends there on this side, but it's higher on this side, so that one's only about 1/8 of an inch. But that's one thing about these, is the grinds aren't very even. But that doesn't really affect their performance too much. It's just that if you don't like things like that, then you probably won't like these. Another place that they're not even and may be hard to see is right down the spine. It's basically at an angle like this. So this is not flat. It's up at an angle. Another thing I don't like is that these do not come with a sheath of any kind. The only thing they come in is this cardboard sleeve that goes over the knife, and it's open on both sides. So if you're not careful pulling it out of the box, you could stick yourself. So what I did for a sheath is I took the two cardboard sleeves, put them side by side, and then I twisted the cardboard together down here, and then I took some masking tape, put a lot of masking tape down here for safety, and masking taped them together. And this is a good little easy and cheap sheath option for these. Eventually I may make some leather sheaths for these, but that's going to be way down the line. Another thing about these is that the finish is not very durable. As you can see, some of the finish is missing. And another thing about these is they are carbon steel, which that is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good in a way because that means that they are plenty tough. However, these will rust on you. So if you have these, when the finish starts wearing off, you're going to have to start oiling the blades to be sure that they don't rust. As you can see with this steel, if they hit each other, then they will take damage. This is one that got it right near the tip. So I did that just to see how they would perform. I threw one and then I threw the other one close enough that it hit, and it did damage. So as I said, that's something you're going to have to be careful of, is don't let them hit each other. Although really it's not good to let any throwing knife hit another throwing knife. But this also shows then what these will do if they get thrown into something that is hard. The edges could use rounding to make them more durable, but for something within this price range, you really can't complain. And if that bothers you too much, you can do it yourself. The lengths on these are 14 inches. The weight is 11.2 ounces. And the steel is 1055 carbon steel. All in all, I do think that these are worth the money if you're looking for a good, inexpensive throwing knife that you can throw and you don't care how it looks, and something that you can learn on and maybe eventually get yourself some better throwing knives, then these are really nice. Keep in mind, for the price, these imperfections are not a big deal at all. If you so wanted, I suppose you could Cerakote these or something else like that to make these where they won't rust. But for me, I'm just going to keep them oiled. The grinds don't bug me. I may eventually round the edges on these myself, and I'll probably make some leather sheaths for them. I hope this was helpful and informative. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!